My name is Marton Papp, and I'm going to talk about my story, how I created a tool for basically translating one computer language into another in the spirit of the conference, which required us to actually come with topics where someone made a tool and it made his life easier. This is one example of this. First, about me, I've done many things. I worked for small and large corporations. I worked as a freelancer, and I worked for hourly rate. I worked in projects, and I tried all parts of computing, which meant usually creating databases. I done user interfaces, and sometimes I had to be creative and invent some algorithm. For example, I had to figure out how to work with MP4 files on my own. What is related to today's talk is my little, how I, this, the next part of this slide shows how I actually came to know partners. First, the whole thing started with Commodore 64. This was my first personal computer, and that's where I learned QBasic and, and assembly language first time. First, at the time, I didn't know much about parsers. We know that Commodore 64 has something, but first I became aware at university where I took a course about compilers, which only then my story finished there for a while because I didn't use it. It took many years, 2002, when actually I worked for an insurance company and we used PLSQL for basically modifying a database, and then I wanted a beautifier, to create a beautifier which beautifies my PLSQL at the company, and I decided to look for something that helps me in that regard. I was interested in parsers, so what I did is look for some kind of solutions, and at the time my first choice was OmniMark. I didn't know what to use, but OmniMark, if you know, it's basically kind of a stream-based, I don't know, replacement engine. You can give it rules and it can actually modify. But the problem was that I was looking for a free solution. OmniMark looked free at the time, but the company just changed their policy just at that time, and it became a commercial software. They no longer had a free version. That's why my attention turned to Perl, and basically using Perl, I parsed PLSQL, which meant using regular expressions and basically parsing the source code from the beginning to the end, always matching something and converting it. Later on, I studied parsing a little more using parse YAP, which is a Perl module, and I try to create a software which actually converts Perl into C. The reason I wanted to do that because I had that PLSQL beautifier, and I decided I wanted more speed, so I created a converter. This is not a perfect converter, kind of, but it was good enough to convert most of the Perl into C. Then later on, the time came when, after trying several parsers or parser generators, that had the idea to make something that's easy to use and I may require it in the real life. That was a language converter. But the idea of a language converter started to take shape in my mind, and the reason what helped me is there is actually a project called Language Machine, and I like the idea that was outlined there, that basically it's little bit, it has a different syntax than normally parsers do. Normally parsers have have the result on the left side, and what you want to match is on the right side. This one, what you want to match is on the left side, and what you want to become is on the right side. So it uses a different syntax. I like the idea how it works, but actually the idea I think wasn't implemented very nicely. Actually, I found it complicated to use. What more, it actually requires you to define the whole language. So my attention turned to my own creation. So time came when actually I became interested in trading bots, meaning selling and buying automatically using a software. And one of the trading bots usually written, many of them, this is one language, is MQ4. And the idea, and that's when actually the idea came to me that actually use this language converter. Okay, so the task was, which I will concentrate on today, that to convert trading bot MQ4 into C++, and it's not a too complicated task. So, basically, MQ4 is similar to C in that it has many syntactical structures are same. That is, you look at it, at first you could think it's a C program, but it's not quite. There are differences because there's a lot of built-in functions, like for allocating arrays, it has its own set of functions, MQ4. So the task is basically, when you write the converter, is to change the types in declarations, change the MQ specific types into C++ specific types. And also, because I'm talking about C++ conversion, what happens is I also wanted to create a class from the set of classes I have in MQ4, so which meant I had to wrap a class around all the functions that in MQ4 they were. So this is what the converter should handle. You see, due to my experience, I had these choices to use parse-yap, parse-direct descent, interp, or pure Perl with regular expressions. Each of them, well, they are not bad tools, but they all require you to some level to define the whole grammar of the language. MQ4, I didn't want to do that. I'm kind of lazy, so. But also try to look for some more efficient solution. What basically it means that I wanted to just to convert the changes, and the workflow would be actually to have a MQ4. What happens is that time by time I developed this MQ4 trading bot, and I could have done. I could have created both of them and basically maintain them in parallel, but I didn't want to do that. I decided to use basically a language transformation to actually make the whole process easier. So in practice, it means that all I do is just whenever I modified my trading bot, I run this tool and it generates me C++. Then I compile it. If some errors come up, then I basically add a new transformation and that would handle my bug basically in C++. So um, I wrote a tool in Perl. I just would like to tell you why I use Perl. There are so many languages. basically, I already mentioned that this is one of the language I use for parsing since 2002. So familiarity was one factor, but familiar or not, I could use other tools. But here, it's basically for me it's so fast. I can write fast in that tool, and it also starts up fast enough. You have to know, for example, if you use C++, there is compilation time. Sometimes, 5-10 seconds, and that's not very good for creativity when the tool stops you from flying. And also found that this tool is fast enough for parsing. The other good points were this is a good debugger. I usually use it for step. I use the debugger sometimes for step-by-step debugging. The debugger allows you to basically evaluate expressions and also run small Perl programs without. So there's a lot of freedom there, which when I use this tool, weren't available in other programming languages. Perl has support for regular expressions, and my idea was for the language transformation, I would use regular expressions because they are powerful, they are short. You can express ideas in a very short way. And Perl is free. We know it's maintained. It's popular enough, and there is more feature. What it has. It has the eval function. It has eval function, and what it means, I also wanted actions in my transformations, which means whenever a text is transformed, I may want to actually do something in Perl and evaluate a small snippet of code, and Perl allows that. Okay, the language converter, the structure of the language converter, it's very simple. You get a source file which you want to convert. We got the translation file which basically contains a list of transformations I want to perform, or maybe it's more actually done because you can analyze the code as well. I will talk about that later. And two of them allows us to actually produce the output file. To make the whole conversion safer, I use a tokenizer in the converter, which allows me to actually match patterns at token boundary at the beginning of the tokens, which can make the conversions safer. What do we want this converter to do? Basically, modify code, sometimes delete code, insert code, and maybe analyze code I didn't. The language converter, basically, if you don't give any rules to it, just lets everything through, which means you get the input becomes basically the output. The language converter, as with similar to parsers, it got a list of rules which tells you what to transform into what. I told you it's optionally actions can be specified at each conversion. What's maybe more interesting that actually multiple stages can be specified, and what it means that you can actually scan the same file multiple times and with different rules, which has some usefulness. Okay, let's see the syntax. Simple enough, as I told you, left side is what you want to match, right side what you want it to become. Semicolon is a separator, as is usually it is in other formats as well. What it means that, for example, in this case, we got a dynamic array definition, declaration, and we want to convert into a C++ version. In my C++ version, it becomes a vector double, and it matches literally what you want. But there is more. Using regular expression, you can match more than one thing. That's the second example. For example, it will match a string, and that string is basically string in MQ4. So it will match a string that for a definition variable which starts with by, and what it will do is basically convert into the C++ version. In C++, string is written by a big capital. You can also see you can actually capture things and reuse it in the replacement, which make. As you can see, there is comments with the hash, and you can also, this syntax allows you to remove code just by using an empty string.
Yeah, lunch is being served. Sorry,
Yeah?
you have to wrap it up now.
Just 4 minutes, according to me.
We're already late constantly. Sorry.
Okay. This syntax is, well, it wasn't late. Okay, it shows the stage syntax that you can specify the stage symbol like in Perl to actually and there's more syntax. There are events. When there are events, you can append code. That's what it shows. It appends at the end of the file. This is the out example. This is the output. What it becomes. You can also see what the input was. In summary, what it turns out that Perl is good for parsing. It was simpler to use. The two runs within 10 seconds. There could be more improvement, like to use Perl 6. I think that would mean even more flexibility. The tools I mentioned you can find at this link. And this would conclude our lecture.